Well guys, I'm back out here again finally, and I got the 562 here with me that I mentioned the tryout. I also got my 372, my 3120 as well. Want to get some milling done today, but as you can tell, the butt end of the log here, it's cracked pretty good, so I'm going to take a piece of firewood off it. But this saw hasn't been started since last fall apparently, or summer actually. My buddy Justin was telling me. So let's just see how many pulls it takes to get this thing fired up, and we're gonna let it warm up for a minute, and we're gonna pour the coals to it in the wood here. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I don't think I had it in the right position there when it started to fire up. I'm not used to these 500 series Huskies, but it's pulling that 28-inch bar really nice. I'm going to measure out this log here to just over a little bit of 8 feet, and we'll cut it off and we'll get set up for milling. Sweet. Looks like I got some more cleaning up to do on this log, and we're going to get set up for the mill here. I'm actually going to start down on the far end because this is sloped down, so I'll let gravity do a little bit of the work as I'm pushing the mill through the log. first cut is done. The grain is super nice on this. It's the best part. After you get the first cut done, you can see what the grain looks like. I'll bring you guys in for a closer look. Well guys, here's what the first cut looks like. The knots look super cool. Got real nice character. So does the grain, like that wave there, looks really nice. But let's get started on the second cut. So to make this a little bit easier on myself, I'm just going to take every slab that I cut and put it in the truck right away so I don't have so much to pack out at the end of the day here. So let's get after it, get this guy loaded. Well guys, I'm having a little bit of bad luck here today with my 3120. First, I couldn't get it started, so I ended up having to put a little bit of gas down the carb to get it to prime itself, and it was on its way. But now, as I'm in this third cut here for this slab, it's working way too hard, more than it should, and it doesn't seem like it's oiling. So I'm going to take the mill off the chainsaw, clean out the bar rail, and clean around that oiler hole, make sure everything's good, and put it all back together and make sure that it's oiling properly, because I don't want to continue on and burn out this saw, because parts are expensive, as you know. But I'm also going to give it a quick file as well, so stay tuned. Let's see what happens here. Well, there was a little bit of sawdust gunk right in the oil hole there. It just popped out as soon as I fired it up. Oil started pumping out good then. I'm going to clean out this rail, get the mill back together. This slab is probably a write-off, and probably the other one too, but I'll mill it anyway and make use out of it somehow. But yeah, got to keep pushing, even though it's, you know, hiccups along the way, but it's all you can do. Well, it ain't my greatest work. Looks like it just came in a Home Depot, basically. But what I might end up doing with this slab, and maybe the next one, is I'll cut them in a couple of sections here, and they might be good for end tables or something. So, because as I go down, this gets way thick. That's just due to, as you can see me, as I'm milling this, I let go the one clamp to kind of free flow, so it started going a lot better. But like I said before, you shouldn't have to do that, but oh well. Live and learn. Well, we got some end tables out of it. I'll get this loaded up here and then we'll go for the last slab. And then I'll buck up the 2 first cuts for firewood, and then that first round that I cut off, I'll split that up in the firewood and we'll load out and head home. Guys, as you can tell, it's been a bit of a struggle today, but you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. On a positive note, I really enjoy that 562. It's a ripper. It's really pulling that 28-inch bar like it's nothing. I'd be interested to see what a 32 would do to it, but I got this little bit of firewood cut up from the first cuts here and that, but my phone's just about to die, so if the video ends abruptly, that's why. But we'll catch you on the next one.